It's the Wilk Report. I'm Michael Wilk, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, and hoping you like the new logo here. Let's get right to it. We're going to review Doctor Who, Series 11, Episode 8, The Witchfinders. Now, I'm going to say that I actually like this episode. It's got its share of flaws. I'm not going to lie. The appearance of spoilers later on, but the appearance of a certain character seems really contrived and really doesn't come off as believable. So I'll get into that in a bit. But what I want to do is share the screen capture. All right, so the Doctor and the TARDIS crew land in what they think is Renaissance era England for the crowning of Elizabeth I. Yeah, because you got to visit the X, huh? But they end up landing in 17th century England. The Doctor is bobbing for apples, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. So let's move along here. So what we're seeing is things starting to go wrong. The bell tolls, and townspeople are called to what turns out to be a witch trial, headed by a noblewoman, Becca something or other. I forget how to pronounce the last name, but so she's basically the landowner in this situation, and she's really kind of hiding stuff. And of course, then we have a creeper coming along in a mask, whom we see at a couple points. And bear with me while I bring up the images here. So the grandmother, who is shown in the dunking chair, she's a local healer, and as it turns out, the grandmother of the noblewoman, because she married up. So anyway, she's condemned to death. The Doctor tries to save her, doesn't succeed. So then the granddaughter becomes a focal point. And of course, here we have the mysterious man in the mask again, kind of reminiscent of the masks worn by plague doctors during the Middle Ages. So it's kind of anachronistic, but we'll forgive that. But as it turns out, this guy in the mask is actually none other than King James I, played by Alan Cumming. And this is where I get into the one big problem I have with this episode, is that, although it is true that King James I was a Catholic, and I don't think he was a Catholic. I think his wife was a Catholic, though. Or maybe he was Catholic and his wife was Protestant. But he is at this period of time, early 1600s, persecuting witches and overseeing witch hunts. Now, the contrivance here is the King of England. Remember, this is the King of England personally going all King James witch hunter on his ass. I mean, seriously, it's most likely that he would have presided over witch trials or witch hunts, given a royal decree, but, would he have really been directly, personally involved? Probably not. And this kind of breaks suspension of disbelief, because there's just no way to believe this. So let's kind of move. To me, it's the one big flaw that kind of makes the episode less enjoyable than it could be. But, moving along, here we've got Yaz talking with the granddaughter of the drowned woman. Doctor's also involved. Basically, they try to find out what's going on because the granddaughter is attacked by this kind of like mud tendril. And so the doctor naturally has to investigate. And really, and again, this is another minor irritation of mine, is that, her sonic screwdriver proves to be pretty much useless because, does it really work on mud? It's not detecting anything, and yet the mud is invading corpses now and turning them into zombies. Yeah, and here you see the ghost of the corpse of the drowned woman. And of course, she's not the only one, because it's gone from being a kind of pseudo-historical drama, featuring witch hunts and King James I, and now it's become a zombie episode. Which, it's not the first time Doctor Who has done this. Waters of Mars was basically a zombie episode. But in this case, there's more to it, and it's kind of tied directly with the noblewoman, and who keeps this axe under her bed that the mud zombies have now picked up. So once again, we're seeing fairly typical monster, but then of course we get some weirdness going on, because as it turns out, the noblewoman has a rather electrifying reaction to the wood that the dunking chair is made out of. And the doctor notices this, of course, and tries to find out what's going on. And of course, the noblewoman is harboring secrets of her own, because that's not a regular tear, that is mud. And as it turns out, the mud zombies are in fact members of an alien race called the Moraks. And they are banished war criminals who were basically broken down into their component elements, basically the stuff Earth is made out of, and imprisoned in a hill, and a fake tree was erected to serve as a lock on this prison. And of course, the noblewoman chopped it down, being completely stupid because it was blocking her view of the field that overlooked her land. So yeah, can take that kind of message however you will. But anyway, the doctor figures out a way to save the day, obviously, and of course King James I does his part and kind of pisses her off because he did something that the doctor would rather he didn't. Now, my thoughts on the episode overall were that this is probably the first episode of Doctor Who in Series 11 that actually feels like an episode of Doctor Who. The Saranga conundrum notwithstanding, this one felt more like it than that episode. So I really can't complain. This would be kind of a filler episode if it were taking place during the Russell T Davies era. And it would probably be an epic, a failed epic episode under the Moffat era. But here it's kind of more low-key, more in keeping with the Davies era. But it plays off like more of a filler. So, it's kind of average. I'd give it a 6 or a 7 out of 10. But, the contrivance of just having King James I show up in disguise for no real reason other than he just likes to hunt witches in his spare time when he's not running the entire kingdom. Come on. I mean, that like I said, that just breaks suspension of disbelief for me, so I have to take points off of that. But the character development, again, it was good. It turns out that the landowning asshole, like I said, she marries up, completely forgets about the family, and ends up taking the consequences because family kind of comes back to haunt her, literally. Because the Morax, that's the name of the alien species, they want to possess King James I. So, we have some actual stakes here. The aliens want to use him to take over first England and then the rest of the world. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of going back to Russell Davies and even Moffat era type of stakes, which is interesting because, again, this is an episode that was not written by Chris Chibnall. So, what does it say when the more interesting episodes are written by someone other than the head writer? I mean, that's just my opinion. Take it or leave it for what you will. But that's pretty much it for this review. If you like what you've heard and you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we upload new content. And head over to our Patreon page, help support the channel, improve the quality of the podcast. This is Michael Wilk for the Wilk Report saying take care, good night, I'm out.